Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network. Oh, hi. Hi, Hal. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Be
There it is.
scantily. Can you not hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
I
can
can
hear
hear
you
you
now.
I had to be scantily clad to counteract the absolute genital dulling energy of Mike Pence. You know, the man who can single-handedly lower birth rates as he walks through a town like the devil waving his hand over a bed of daisies and watching them wilt like they've been in the sun for 100 years. Mike
People's
Pence
libido.
does that to everyone's libido, bar none, even his own. I mean, that's, I guess, all libido destruction starts at home.
Yeah.
But also not true at all, by the way, about his tough on China stance.
Right.
Because largely that was window dressing, and I would like to go on record as saying that a big portion of their quote-unquote tariffs, where they were paying the farmers for the stuff, that the $28 billion,
Yes.
was actually an arrangement with the Chinese government for Trump to get cash from them to pay off voters so he could stay in office, so he could continue to drive manufacturing out of the United States and never bring it back home. And by the way, CHIPS Act, anyone?
Yes.
Trump could have passed it. Why didn't he?
Yep.
Because he didn't think of it or he didn't want to do it, either one or both.
Right, exactly. All right, speaking of scantily clad, somehow the theme this morning has been sex in gay bathrooms. Right,
yes.
Gay club bathrooms.
Right.
And suddenly I was having a Queer as Folk flashback. And then there you showed up scantily clad.
Also, I would like to say for the record, the Wham documentary is out, apparently.
I watched it yesterday.
I don't doubt it. Again, how many times is that? Is that the 15th time or whatever? It should just be called I Feel Seen for some of my friends from high school.
Yeah.
But speaking of, I think, what was it George Michael said about being busted for having sex in a park men's
Gay
room was,
bathroom, right.
I was never one to pass up a free lunch, I think is what his
Yeah.
quote was.
Yes. Yep.
The man who originally developed the PR scheme of if you're going through hell, keep going. Right.
By the way, wasn't it Griffith Park bathroom? I
No.
think so.
No, it was a park in Beverly Hills.
Oh, pardon
Yeah.
me.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Hal.
park
park
in
in
Beverly
Beverly
Hills.
Hills.
Not
Right.
just any park,
Oh,
please.
fine.
He's
Okay.
George Michaels. I mean, the man has standards.
Though you are smoking hot, you were also a giant nerd, and you've already read the entire
Yeah.
Trump warrant that was unredacted
Again,
yesterday.
the extra parts. I got the version with the centerfold that came out this week with the additional, which is just like hair on fire, livid sections. Like we at this point, in many ways, know this, which is why they unredacted some of it. There are also, it seems, pictures in there that are redacted that are not redacted in the indictment, for example,
Right.
but are still, for whatever purpose, where they got them, how they got them. Maybe the original picture has the timestamp on them that's in the warrant that they just hid so it wouldn't be seen where it was. I think the biggest addition is just the amount of video activity, because Trump had to hand over the security camera footage
You said off air
at Mar-a-Lago.
that you always read something and go like, oh my God, did he really say that out loud to someone? And the answer is generally yes,
Yeah.
he did.
Yes.
He is that
yeah,
dumb.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was reading it and I was like, wait a minute, this sounds familiar. I'm like, oh, he was dumb enough to say this.
They're like, here's the thing, there's nothing more here. There's all the things, everything. We've done a very thorough search. And then they had the surveillance video of
The video of him
boxes,
literally,
boxes, boxes.
to
to Benny Hill music.
Exactly.
Just like it's like the end of Unbreakable when Sam Jackson is walking like hyperspeed at the end when you see all the destruction he's made down the plane and crash. It's just like, okay, this is just hauntingly scary.
We didn't put this Benny Hill music. This is actually on the tape. There's a lot of big-breasted women and people moving boxes.
Yeah, he runs around smacking Walt Knott on the top of the head like.
Walt Nauta, who is finally supposed to be going before
I know.
the judge
He's
today.
supposed to go, and because he doesn't have a lawyer, that doesn't mean you don't get charged.
Right.
Like, what do you think? Like, it didn't happen if I don't have a...
Sounds like
you
a
get
you
public
problem.
defender, buddy.
Yeah.
And you get a DeSantis public defender. That's probably going to be, I got to say, more loyal to you as a client than anybody that Trump's going to appoint on your behalf, if at all, if he can even find one. That's the other part.
Right. So a couple of your tweets, you breaking news about the judge limiting Biden administration officials from contacting social media sites, a ruling that could curtail efforts to fight disinformation. Just what we need right now, more
Right.
disinformation.
Right.
You just said the ruling is based on actions that began under the Trump administration and ended under Biden, but please continue.
Right.
And
That's the
this is
amazing
to try to
part.
keep people alive. I mean, it's
Well, it's even beyond that. That's why this is ridiculous. It's like a temporary injunction by a Trumpy judge. This is the kind of stuff we saw about the ACA and other stuff that got batted down. But ultimately, the sort of gist of it is that Biden is the primary defendant in the list of defendants in this, when all of the actions cited as a violation of that person's civil rights and their First Amendment rights happened in 2020. While I don't remember who was president. Was it Taft? It's so long ago. It seems like 1,000 years ago when, we had some like old robber baron running the joint.
Yeah. I loved your tweet. Wow, people camped out all night to hear President Trump speak. I've never seen that for Biden. And you're like, that's because we have jobs.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We have stuff to do, lives, hockey games to go to,
Right.
we've got kids to spend time with. Meanwhile, these people are deadheading across the country to hear him say the same crap over and over. And the only thing he has added, besides, remember he tried that like outro music, like his own orchestra, like his Oscar walk-off music. He was adding it was like spooky Oscar music. Was that he's just added more gripes. That's it. There's like a slightly more gripey, like a couple of extra paragraphs of him just riffing about his problems. But these things are getting longer.
Oh, God.
And have less in them, which is, on brand, I guess.
Yeah.
For Trump.
By the way, you said Trump was complaining about the pictures Fox News was using of him, and yet, thanks to Mark Levin for posting a thumbnail where he looks like Carol Channing's uncle's nutsack, which, wow.
Right.
I go ahead.
That was the best description I could come up with, and I think incredibly apt.
Yes.
But I think it's part of a subterfuge movement in Trump world, and I would like to remind Trump, as he is definitely listening right now, because as much as he's glad to be on OAN, he dreams of being on The Real Deal, like Stephanie Miller's show, and CNN and others, where he used to be friends with Oprah and people like that, and people used to invite me to parties, and now no one calls. He's got Lindsey Graham syndrome. But and who's the other one that was complaining about it? I never get invited to. Dershowitz. Yeah, they're in a great crowd.
They won't have me back to Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, no one invites
They
me
don't
to
like me in the
Hamptons anymore.
Hamptons.
Yeah, they all have daughters, dummy. Anyways.
By the way, we come to you for Happy Clappy because it was a brutal week at the Supreme Court last week. But somebody tweeted, Biden and Congress must act to restore affirmative action. You said, nope, voters must. Biden and Congress don't have the votes to do it. We either give them the backup they need or STFU and stop pretending we give it. And thank you. I think we should expand the Supreme Court. Joe Biden can't. Congress has to expand the Supreme Court.
Here's the thing. When Democrats are running on these very things,
right,
and they have a 50-50 split in the Senate and in the House, and supposedly the public is 70-30 for these things, then who is letting down the system as it stands? It isn't the elected officials. The elected officials are following the constituency that it voted for them in the first place, but also the Republicans are acting based on the idea that they don't believe there's a mandate coming from the voters. Because if 70% of people believe these things, but 42% show up to vote for them, then they're not afraid. The Republicans will never be afraid until they see blue tsunami after blue tsunami after blue tsunami. That's the only stabilizing factor. Like splintering out into little third-party junctions and all that kind of stuff will only water down whatever mandate for the ideas you think, and they'll just go, there's a bunch of infighting over there, we don't have to kowtow to this at all, and if we wait long enough, they'll split each other up, and we will, at 30%, run the whole show. And that's why they headed off the Supreme Court. That's their get out the vote campaign. They are just singularly going for one base and one base only, never expanding the tent. And the reason for that is because they figure we will divide ourselves up amongst ourselves. And if we do that, then we really don't want the things we say we want. we just give up after they don't happen in a couple of years because it's a lot of, TYT. If we don't get everything, nobody gets anything.
Yeah.
And that's nonsense.
And Hal, I don't know if you heard my horrifying story last week when I was across my mom's nursing home. There was a guy's business that is closed, and in the window he has a Gavin Newsom sucks sign in this red county in North Carolina. I was able to interview him briefly
Yes.
in the time that I thought I would not get shot. And but he said he voted for Trump, wouldn't do it again. I was like, woohoo, high five, great. And then as I'm leaving, he's like, I like that RFK Jr. though. I was like, no.
Oh, dear.
No. And I just I start to have 2016 flashbacks that with enough factors, third party, Russia, this, that, AI, who knows? I'm like, oh my God.
Well, the interesting thing is RFK, the illusion that he ran out there and he was running to the left of Biden on some things to try and basically scoop up some of Marianne Williamson's, I like your energy, but I don't like women cast off voters. And in reality, policy-wise, RFK Jr. is 1-to-1 with Trump.
Yep. Yeah.
And
he said, I'm glad Trump likes me. I'm glad Trump
anybody,
said he likes me. I'm
yeah,
like,
he said that.
Jesus.
Yeah. If he siphons votes away from anybody, it ain't going to be Biden. It's not going to be the Democrat.
Yeah.
It's going to be Trump voters who have just decided to, it gives me something else where I can say I'm not just a maggot cultist.
It occurs to me that, fine American Hal Sparks.
Yep.
There's a service you could do for your country. We were talking about Liz Cheney. And she was saying she wouldn't do anything to help Donald Trump if they were asking her if she's going to run. If some fine American who I've never been able to see any woman resist were able to convince her to run third party, she would hurt Trump. So if there was some fine American that could...
Sure, yeah.
Could I run that up your flagpole?
Some sort of male hypnosis? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
some
I would
sort
like
of tractor
you
beamish attractiveness that...
I would like you to go convince Liz Cheney to run third party.
I'll ask around. I know Richard Marx personally, so I can probably see if I could either borrow his tractor beam or get him to turn it in the right direction.
Yeah, Richard Marx has been in studio with us, so we're familiar with his tractor beam.
Oh yeah, it's rude.
Oh,
yeah.
It's rude. The man is so handsome, it's rude. I'm so mad, and I consider him a great friend. But yes, it turns out that everybody who's running, quite frankly, including Marianne Williamson in this regard, will more than likely steal votes from any independent that might have leaned Trump's way, not towards the Democrat. This is a fierce. This is an issue in right-wing media right now because they're giving this lift to RFK. They gave him this automatic platform in the intellectual dark web or whatever, that the dork web, like Ben Shapiro crowd that's having him on because they think this is going to eat away at Biden voters because he's running as a Democrat. It's not. Yeah. No one seriously voting or no one seriously planning to vote next time is voting for RFK Jr. Not a person. Yeah. And if they are, then they were toying with the idea of voting for Trump. Or if a lighter Republican came along, maybe this DeSantis, maybe this Vivek Ramaswamy dude could be my guy. That's the way they're leaning.